everyone, my name is Richie and welcome back to another video. Today join me for another comparison video, and today we're looking at the Mildmay Line and the Suffragette lines. So if you've not seen a video like this from me before, basically I go into both of the routes, I'll show you the main menu, a bit of the route itself, we do like a 10-15 minute drive along each route, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, give you my opinions and ultimately decide which one's better. And of course I thought these two would be the best to compare because obviously they're both London Overground routes, they've both been released relatively at the same time, and they also share a station in this Gospel Oak. Here you go, I've spawned them in here because it seemed the most fitting place to spawn them in. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to look at both of the routes. We're going to drive the 710 on the right hand side there and the class 378, and I'll give you a bit of a description about it, talk a little bit about it, and ultimately decide what's better. So join me today as we have a little look at the Mildmay Line and the Suffragette Line. So here we go, I've jumped into the main menu, and as always I'm going to show you what you get with both of these routes, sort of show you the timetabled services, the scenarios, all that sort of good stuff. Let's do it in release order as we always do. So this is the Suffragette Line and what you get with it. So you get a total of 226 services and 5 scenarios. The 5 scenarios consist of pretty much full line runs. You got all sorts of stuff going on. You got a Halloween one there. If you like your scenarios, there's plenty of stuff going on there for you. As for the timetable, like I say, 226, which consists of all these wonderful units here. So obviously you've got the class 710 itself, which does the bulk of the services. You've got all sorts of stuff going on here. Of course, the majority of the runs are Gospel Oak to Barking Riverside because that's what they do, and they're around about 40 to 45 minutes. There's also some depot moves and all that sort of good stuff if that's your sort of style and you like to start at a depot and bring it into service and all that sort of good stuff. As for some of the layers, we've got the class 37, which does a couple of light loco moves. You've obviously got Ripple Lane in this route, which is quite a busy freight yard, so you've got plenty of freight on this route. Talking of freight, let's have a little look at what the 66 does. So we've got 67 services with the class 66. All the different variants do layer in. Let's have a little look at the blue version. Obviously all the applicable 66s will work. And yeah, there's quite a lot of freight on this route, a lot of like varied service times there. You've got like 20 minutes, half an hour, 15 minutes, 38 minutes, so plenty of freight on this route if that's your sort of thing. We've also got a layer from the LMS Jubilee, which does a couple of rail tour services, one in the morning, one in the evening. I did do that in a video once, and it's a good bit of fun. And we've also got the Class 20 doing some stuff, there you go, which does one service. I think the Class 33 does something as well, but I don't have it installed. So yeah, that's the Suffragette Line timetable. As you can see, quite varied. You know, you've got the bulk of the services with the commuter stock with the 710, and then also you've got some nice other stuff layered in as well. Jumping into the Mildmay Line, we've got around about 700 services. There should be 701 there, but obviously 2 are missing because I don't own the cargo line packs. And we've got 5 scenarios which consist of this sort of like story sort of thing going on. Obviously you start out at the beginning and then you go throughout the day and it gets progressively more difficult. So yeah, Johannes has tried doing like a story with the scenarios, which is quite cool. As for types of services and layered in stock, so let's have a little look at the timetable. We've obviously got the class 378, which does the bulk of the services. Jumping into the class 378 timetable, you can see it pretty much does the bulk of the services. So obviously you've got full line runs going from Stratford to Willesden Junction. You can also see that there's a couple of shorter services that are around 2 to 3 minutes. They are Windrush Line services, which is quite cool. You also get quite a few depot moves, so you can do Camden Road to Stratford. You can also do Willesden TMD up to Stratford, so there's quite a lot of depot moves on this. And of course this timetable is just incredibly busy. You know what, 600 and something services for the 378. There's so much going on with it, so you know, if you want a very dense commuter, this is the one for you. Of course the 710 does layer into this route, and as you can see it has a couple of services there which are mainly depot moves. I would have liked to have seen the class 710 sub in for the 378s, and hopefully at some point we will see that, but as of right now it just does a couple of depot moves. And obviously for freight we've got the class 66. We've got 25 services, there should be 27, but 2 of them come from the cargo line packs, which I previously stated I don't have. And that's pretty much it for the services. So obviously the Mildmay Line has a lot more, but in real life it has 8 trains per hour on the section that is represented in game, so it is naturally just going to have some more layers with it. Another thing I do want to mention as well is the layer selector. So obviously with the Mildmay Line, a lot of AI is on the route. I mean, a lot of it. So if we jump into the layer selector, you can see there's all sorts of stuff going on. So you've got the Bakerloo Line stock sort of representing all the underground stuff. You've also got some reskinned 710s at the Stratford end representing the Elizabeth Line. There's also some Greater Anglia sort of unbranded stuff as well. You've got the Class 43, which layers into this too. You've got the Avanti West Coast, which layers in at the Willesden Junction side. You've got the 166, representing the Chiltern Main Line. The list goes on and on. You also get the DLR, which is cool. But yeah, the amount of AI services in this route is insane. Of course, because we've got so much AI on the route, naturally we're going to have a few performance issues, and I have seen a few comments about that. So my advice is go through the layer selector and turn off some of the longer trains like the 801, the 700, the 390. You know, they're cool to have in there, but if you're just in the cab, you're not really going to see them. So to kind of save a bit of performance, I would just take them layers off. You can also see as well in the layer selector, you've got Central Line 2 and Bakerloo Line 2. I don't know whether these double up anything or not, but that can kind of help your performance as well if you're struggling a little bit. So the longer trains I'd normally take off because usually they're quite memory intensive anyway, and you'll find that it will definitely improve your performance. So with all that said, let's jump into a route, shall we? We're going to start in release order and we're going to jump into the Suffragette line first. I'm going to drive it for like 2 or 3 stations, not that far at all, and sort of show you what the route looks like, what the 710s like to drive and all that sort of good stuff. And then I'll do the same in the Mildmay line. So yeah, let's jump into the Suffragette line first. So here we go, I've jumped into 2J27 Gospel Oak to Barking Riverside. Let's get started and get set up, shall we? So, to set up the Class 710, you put the key in there, you put that into forwards, you unlock the doors on the right hand side there, your lights are over here, it's already in day, which is all good, and you've got this wonderful little train. It's nice. Of course, a thing to note here is that you get some Mildmay Line AI, which is all run by 710s in this version of the route, and then obviously, hopefully at some point in the future, you know, we could see the 378s. That could be cool. There we go, off goes that 710. So obviously when we do the Mildmay Line section, I'm thinking of doing maybe like a Camden road service, but obviously you can go through here and you can route hop and all that sort of good stuff, so you'd end up starting here and then you can go along the route. Obviously, a thing to note with the 710, because this is the star of the show, the doors are self-locking, so obviously I've unlocked the doors, but they do close after like 30 seconds, which is quite a cool little feature. Of course, inside it's all fully TfL branded. You've got all the nice little seats and all that sort of good stuff. You've also got the information up here. These screens do change as you go along, and it tells you like information about like the different lines and stuff. As you can see, it's just changed there. So if you want to see the service status on like the Bakerloo line, for example, it will tell you on them screens. And here we go. Let's get going to Upper Holloway in a mile's time, and I'll get departing so you can listen to the wonderful Class 710 sounds. And the horn, of course. It's a nice sounding horn. There we go. Sounds very nice. Nice and modern. So as we get going, we can get up to 20 mile an hour. We can also have a little look at the scenery. So a key thing to notice is that you can see the London skyline over there, which you can see in both of the routes. Very nice. You can also see, I think is that Canary Wharf down there? And yeah, as we trundle along, obviously you can see all sorts of stuff. You got another 710 going in there. So, you know, you do see a lot of AI. It does feel relatively busy, you know, as it should. It's 4 trains per hour. So as for some stations that you can call at, so on these services you'd call that Upper Holloway, Crouch Hill, Haringey Green Lane, South Tottenham, Blackhorse Road, Walthamstow Queens Road, Leighton Midland, Leytonstone High Road, we need to slow down as well, Wanstead Park, Wood Grange Park, Barking and Barking Riverside. So how many stations is that? About 17 or something like that? That's just a random guess. So yeah, there's plenty of stations, also some of the rail tours and stuff like that starting these sidings here, because they go off down this way underneath the Mildmay line. I have got to mention that the cabs in this are very nice. Really nice little cab is the 710. If you like this sort of open windows sort of unit, you'll like the 710. The brakes aren't too bad. The brakes are definitely better on the 378 though. Hold on. That's not a bad stop. That's not a bad stop at all. There you go, lovely stuff. As you can see, all the stations are fully branded. Both of these routes are fully TfL licensed, which is really, really cool. You can see all the orange signs and all the orange bars and all that sort of good stuff. Also, scenery modelling wise, it's pretty good on this route. As you can see, you've got double red lines, which indicates no stopping. You've got some bus stops and all that sort of stuff too. So plenty of like detailed scenery, which is quite nice. Let's get going. Next stop is Crouch Hill, which is near the East Coast Main Line. Let's go. Full beans. Off we go. Let's have a little listen to the departing sounds properly, shall we? Very nice, very nice. Obviously, with this route, you get the 4-car variant. If you've got the West Coast Main Line, obviously you get the Line S line services with the 710, which you need the Suffragette line in order to enable. And with that, you also get the Dash 2 variant and the Dash 3 variant, which is the 5-car version. Here we go, we're on the approach to Crouch Hill, so somewhere around here, I think this is it here, the East Coast Main Line. So, as you can see, there's something there. That's a freight service. But if you own the East Coast Main Line, you'll see the 801s on this route. You'll also see the Thameslink 700s. Oh, we're going to overshoot. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, I'm only showing you a bit of the route. It's alright, we don't need to stop perfectly, do we? Well, that was a diabolical stop. Oh well, let's open the doors. What's that quote? That was bloody dreadful. Again, just flying around here, all fully branded. There is route maps and stuff, I think that's a collectible there. But there is some maps somewhere, which are quite cool. Here you go, got lots of signs and that up here, which are quite cool. Here you go, here's the maps, which shows you where you're going to. Right then, let's get going. Let's get going to our next stop, which was, what was it? Was it Haringey Green Lanes? So we'll go under the East Coast Main Line and hopefully we see some form of AI, because that would be cool. So, full beans. Also, quite cool that we've got stop car markers that say 710 on them. Of course, one thing to mention with collectibles is that obviously, other than the map ones and like we've got the fire extinguishers and like the defibs and that, you've also got goblins dotted around the route, which are quite fun to find, because obviously this route is nicknamed the Goblin Line, because Gospel, Oak to Barking, I think that's what they call it that. So you will see little goblins, which is quite a cool little feature. As you can see, we've got the East Coast Main Line coming up very soon, and hopefully we see some AI on it. Right then, can we see anything crossing the East Coast Main Line? You have to time it perfectly. There's nothing coming just yet, but there will be stuff. I have seen 700s and 801s and all that sort of good stuff. And if you want to do some train spotting here, by the way, there is a little bench somewhere, if I can find it. There it is. There's a little train spotting bench which you can walk up to. So if you do want to sit here and do some train spotting throughout the day, you can certainly do it. Right, as we're getting distracted by the East Coast Main Line, we need to slow down here for Haringey Green Lane. So let's slow down here. We've got the 710. So as you can see, we saw one approaching Gospel Oak earlier. So you will see a lot of AI. It does feel really busy, this route. Right then, let's stop there for Haringey Green Lanes. So again, you know, all fully branded, really nice. Ramps, that's one thing to notice with this route. There's tons of ramps. Yep, all fully branded. Again, route collectible there, which is quite cool. Got all sorts of stuff down here. You've got the fire extinguishers. You've got these cool little features. I find these quite cool, like oyster tap sort of pad things. They're quite cool. There you go, got like official transport for London posters, which is really nice. So yeah, all fully branded. If you want that sort of immersion of being in London, you know, this is, and also Mildmay Line, you know, very nice at sort of representing that. Right, let's get the doors locked, which they've already done, and let's get going to South Tottenham, I think is next, which is where I'm going to leave this segment and jump into the Mildmay Line. So let's get going, a mile to South Tottenham, and yeah, like I say, this route is a good bit of fun, and the 710 is really, really fun to drive. Obviously, you've got the likes of finding the goblins, as I mentioned, so, you know, you can have loads of different bits of fun with this route. What we'll do is, as we're sauntering along here at 30 mile an hour, I'll show you the route map, shall we? So obviously we start down here at Gospel Oak, where it connects up to the Mildmay Line. There is a route hop point on the Mildmay Line, which hasn't been updated into this route just yet, but I think they are going to be working on it. Obviously, as we go along the route here, we pass them stations that we've just gone through, and then you've got the East Coast Main Line there, which you do see stuff cross. As we head this way, we've got this main line, which I'm not too sure what it is, but there is a service going that way. I think that's another London Overground line. I think, is that the Weaver line? After South Tottenham, it then heads off this way. I'm not too sure what line this is here. If anyone knows, please do let me know. And then it heads over this way towards, what station is this? Walthamstow Queens Road. And then as you head on this way, you've got Barking here, and then you keep going round here to Barking Riverside, which is a nice new station. So, let's jump back in. We've timed that perfectly, because we're approaching South Tottenham. Look at that. Right, let's slow down. Right, let's stop there for South Tottenham. Lovely stuff. That's a good little stop, that. I'm happy with that. That's a good stop. Awesome. Let's unlock the doors, and let's leave that there, shall we? So, that was the Class 710 on the Suffragette Line, which is a good bit of fun. I do like it, and there's plenty going on. And like I say, rail tours, fully TfL licence is wonderful. So there we go, that was a little look at the Suffragette Line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the Mildmay Line and do one of the Camden Road services around about like the middle of the route. So let's jump into the Mildmay Line and show you the Class 378. Right, here we go, I've jumped into 2N98 Camden Road to Stratford. Let's get the Class 378 set up, shall we? So let's put that into on, and let's put that to forward. Lovely stuff. Let's also put the lights on. and all that sort of good stuff. I can hear a Class 66, I think. Oh, I was correct. There you go. There's a Class 66 going past there. That's quite cool. So this is a little example of the sort of shunting moves where you bring it into service and then do a little service from Camden Road, which are quite cool. Obviously, the actual Mildmay Line goes up this way towards Willesden Junction, and then we're going to head that way towards Stratford. We're just going to go along to a couple of stations, and probably going to go as far as maybe, let's have a little look, Canonbury, I think. That's around about 13 minutes. That's nice. So that's what we're going to do today in this version of the route. And yeah, let's slow down because we've got Camden Road coming up. So yeah, like I say, the Mildmay Line, good bit of fun. It is incredibly busy. There is so much going on. Literally, there's loads going on. It's going to be really difficult to talk about it in about 15 minutes. So let's slow down for Camden Road and get in. So first thing to mention is the TfL buses, all branded buses, which is quite cool. The Boris buses, as they're called. Yeah, as you can see, it's all very beautifully detailed. We've got like traffic lights and stuff. We've got buses, we've got bus stops, we've got loads going on. Absolutely loads going on. It feels really, really busy, which is nice. Sorry, as I was showing you that, I overshot a little bit at Camden Road. A key thing to notice here is route hop points. So there's loads of places you can route hop to. So obviously here at Camden Road, you can route hop to Stratford International, which is, not Stratford International, sorry, St Pancras International, which is somewhere over there. Of course, another thing to mention is the skyline, which is absolutely spot on. You can see over there you've got some bits of the London skyline. Over there you've got what looks to be the Shard, I think. You've also got the walkie-talkie. You've got loads going on. You've got the BT tower there. Look at that. So, you know, from wherever you are in the route, you can still see the London scenery, which is really, really nice. It does feel like you're in a proper city. Of course, another thing to mention is all fully TfL branded. You've got the orange roundels there. You've got the route maps. You've got all sorts going on. You've got people chatting. You've got people reading newspapers, which is very nice. Let's have a little look at like route maps and stuff. Yeah, there you go. There's one of the little Mildmay Line route map things. You've also got all the orange signage. So it's all fully TfL licensed, which is very, very nice. As for the 378 itself, obviously very similar looking to the Electro Stars. If we fly on inside, you can have a little look inside and you can see it's all open plan, which is beautiful. So yeah, obviously inside it looks very different to the internals of like Electro Stars and stuff. So it's all been fully reworked inside. In fact, it's a whole fresh model. It just looks similar to the 377s. Right, we can get going. Ignore this overshoot. We're going to get going. So where are we calling out, or where would we call out on this service? So we'd do Caledonian Road, Highbury and Islington, Canonbury, Dalston, Kingsland, Hackney Central, Homerton, I think, is it, or Homerton, I think that's how you pronounce it, Hackney Wick, and then Stratford. Obviously, a cool thing to notice at Stratford is the DLR. That's a beautiful little thing to notice. Right, let's get departing as well. So let's get a nice little external shot there. You don't want to be listening to the Class 66. So let's get going. Let's full beans it out of Camden Road, and you can listen to the Class 378 departing. There we go. We got rid of the 66, so you should be able to hear it better. It sounds very similar to the Electro Stars, which is quite nice. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Very similar sounding to the 377s, but, you know, it's basically just a renamed Electro Star. That's what a capital star is, isn't it? Of course, again, as we go along, you can see all the scenery, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see all the buses that we've just gone past. Plenty of scenery, loads of cars parked, and it just feels incredibly busy. It really does. As we go towards Caledonian Road, you'll see that we'll cross the East Coast Main Line again. So you can see we've got the St Pancras there and King's Cross. These aren't modelled, I don't think, but you will see the 801s and the 700s. I've not got the layers installed. No, I do have the layers installed, I just don't have them enabled like I showed you earlier. So I've taken them off because it definitely helps with performance. And here it is. Here's where you cross the East Coast Main Line, and you also see a little bit of the South Eastern High Speed. So there's HS1, there's the HS1 tunnel. So if you've got South Eastern High Speed, you'll recognise that. And then also, you'll see the 700s and whatever down here, if you've got them enabled, which then go down that way and also down that way too. You'll also see the 387s representing the Great Northern stock, which is quite cool. Oh, and of course, the Midland Main Line coming out of St Pancras, you'll see that as well. This route actually runs along the Midland Main Line for quite a long time, so you can end up following a Class 43 for quite a while. Right then, here we go. We're approaching into Caledonian Road and Barnsbury. So let's get slowed down here. So again, prime example, all fully TfL branded, which is very nice. You can see all the orange handrails and the signs and whatever else, and someone looking at their phone. What are they looking at? Oh, they're playing the mobile version of TrainsimWorld 4. I didn't even know that was a thing. There you go. They're also on Steam by the looks of things. Oh, no, they're reading reviews, and they're saying that this is the best game in the world, because it certainly is. Got someone reading a newspaper down here who's got terrible posture. I would, oh, that's cool. So they're actually properly reading it as well. It's not just like a static thing. That's quite cool. Oh, what's this? As we're about to leave, there's what looks like to be an empty coach movement. That's cool. Nice. Okay, so that's quite a cool little movement, isn't it? That's obviously waiting for us, so we can get going. Right then, the next station is Highbury and Islington, which is where you'd see the start of the Windrush line. Yeah, that other 378 was definitely waiting for us because we're going to get in the way of it. So yeah, what's quite cool with the Windrush line services is that it makes it feel nice and busy in this section of the route. You will see, as you can see, there's a couple of 378s in the platforms down there, and you know, you've got something coming the other way. It feels incredibly busy. There is so much going on this route. So let's get slowed down for Highbury and Islington. Look at that, there you go. 3 trains in the platform, and hopefully there should be another one coming in at some point as well. Right then, let's get stopped here at Highbury and Islington. Lovely stuff. Slowly does it now. Bit of brake one. That's fine. That's a good stop. That's a good stop. This route's quite easy to drive. If you want to drive it hoodless, it's one of the routes that are definitely quite easy to drive. So yeah, as you can see, it's all TfL branded, which is quite cool. And you've also got these 2 route maps here. So obviously the Highbury and Islington and Canonbury are both shared with the Windrush line. So you can see the full map for that too, which is very cool. Right, with that waffling aside, let's get going to Canonbury. So, full beans it. Let's have a proper listen to what the train sounds like with full beans. Off you go. Off you go. Very nice, very nice. Horn is strong too, very strong horn. There you go, up to 40 mile an hour. I think the top speed on this route is around about 45. I think that's similar to the Suffragette Line too. Yeah, and just like that almost at Canonbury, it's mad how quick the stations are apart. Obviously, you've got the 2 to 3 minute services with the Windrush line, literally a couple hundred yards, but it's still quite cool that they're implemented, so you can give them a go. It's quite cool because you can obviously spawn in at Canonbury, go over to Highbury and Islington. You've got like a 2-minute changeover, and then you can go back. It's quite a cool little service. I'm definitely glad they've included them. So here's Canonbury. Let's slow down here, and then I'll show you the route map as well, and show you all the wonderful different main lines it crosses, because there is loads. There is absolutely tons that it crosses, and loads of AI that you'll see. So let's get stopped there for Canonbury. Oh, bit of an overshoot, but that's all right. That's fine. So let's unlock the doors, and let's have a little look at the route map, shall we? So here's the route map for the Mildmay Line. Let's start over this side. So you've got Willesden Junction and the West Coast Main Line. So if you own the West Coast Main Line, you'll see the 350s, the 390s, the 377s, the freight, all sorts of stuff along there. As you can see at Willesden Junction there, you've got a London Underground service going to Harrow and Willesden, which is quite cool. We can also hear something approaching on the other platform. There you go. So if we were at the station before, 4 trains, and that cool, nice and busy. Back to the map, so we've got this here, which is, oh gosh, someone did tell me and I forgot it. Is this the Chiltern Main Line, I think? I would guess so. So that's the Chiltern Main Line, possibly. And then you've got this, which is the Midland Main Line. As you can see, it's quite interesting because it's fully modelled for like 3 or 4 stations. So it would have been cool if we could have driven it. You've then got a very long tunnel that goes all the way down here to Gospel Oak, which is where you can route hop and all that sort of good stuff. And then obviously the route goes up that way. You can see that there's 710 layers in. We then head on this way towards Camden Road, which I've just shown you. There's another freight service, which was probably behind us. And then we head this way again, as I showed you before, Midland Main Line, St Pancras, East Coast Main Line and King's Cross. As we head this way, the start of the Windrush Line, as you can see, and then where we are at Canonbury. The Windrush Line goes down here, and then you've got this, the Weaver Line, I believe it is. And then you keep going this way, all the way to Stratford, where it meets the Elizabeth Line, the Greater Anglia Line, all that sort of good stuff. You've also got the DLR, which does some stuff as well. It moves everywhere where it should, which is quite cool. There you go, there's a DLR train. So although it's a relatively short route, there is so much going on for it. Obviously 18 stations. In this little 12-mile section, there's like 10,000 AI services. It's nuts. And yeah, that was a quick little look at the Mildmay Line. As we've been talking, we can see some other 378s in there. So yeah, it's quite cool. You can see all the Windrush services. So it feels nice and busy. And if you want a nice busy route with 8 trains per hour, I mean 12 trains per hour in this section here, then get this one. And of course, the big thing to mention is that this route has been built by a solo developer. One person has built this. So, you know, it shows that they've done a really good job with it. So hats off to Johannes Hartmann, aka Incredible Trains. So now that we've had a little look at the Mildmay Line, I'm going to jump back to Gospel Oak and spawn the 2 trains in again. And I'm going to tell you what's better, the Mildmay Line or the Suffragette Line. So we're back here at Gospel Oak, so let's discuss which route is better, the Suffragette Line or the Mildmay Line. So starting with the Suffragette Line, obviously we get a newer train with that route, the Class 710, which obviously layers into the likes of West Coast Main Line and whatever else, so it's a good bit of fun to drive the 710, and also the route is very nice, very well detailed. And yeah, although the timetable isn't as dense as the Mildmay Lines, obviously you've got a couple of rail tours on there, and also got some freight and stuff like that too. So yeah, if you want a sort of newer model of train that also layers into the West Coast Main Line, if you've got it, and you want to see, you know, the Goblin Line, the Suffragette Line, then I'd say get the Suffragette Line. As for the Mildmay Line, obviously the timetable for this one is absolutely massive. You know, you're talking 700 services, but that's just the nature of the Mildmay Line. It sees 8 trains per hour. Of course, we get the wonderful Class 378, which is very similar to the Electrostars in the game, so if you like your Electrostars, you'll certainly like driving this. And of course, we do need to mention on the Mildmay Line, the sheer amount of AI on this route is insane. So if you want a really busy route, you know, both of these routes are relatively short in the grand scheme of things, but for the amount of detail in both of them, and especially in this one, you know, plenty of AI, plenty of stuff going on, so take your pick there. But what are my thoughts on the two? Obviously, as I say every time, I'd just get both because they are very similar. They are really similar, to be fair, because obviously they're both similar in length, amount of stations, and the way they sort of run in the timetable mode. I also feel like these routes also complement one another. I feel like you can't get the one without the other. So at some point, you know, you might as well just get both, because with having the two routes, you can kind of run a bit of a network. If you really want to do like a shift, for example, a full day shift, going from Willesden Junction across to Stratford, then going from Gospel Oak up to Barking Riverside and then back, and then change trains and whatever else, you can do that with these two routes. So personally, I would honestly get both. And yeah, that was a little look at the Suffragette Line and the Mildmay Line. Let me know in the comments which one's your favourite. And yeah, like I say, both of these routes are pretty awesome in their own sort of way. So with all that said and done, thank you all for watching this video. I've been Richie, and I'll hopefully see you all next time. Bye bye.